you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, my name is Mike Saar. I'm the UK and Ireland Regional Manager for Relewise.
And could you tell us something about yourself that people might not know?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a sci-fi geek and a science fantasy geek. I read a lot of those books and I watch lots of sci-fi movies.
What was your favourite kids' TV show you used to watch? You can remember. Tell us about it. And why was it great?
Oh, right. Well, I'm not sure it's kids, but I'm going to go for Star Trek because I just love the fact that they got all the technology right in Star Trek. And it's kind of cool, isn't it, the galaxy? I don't know whether you've seen the latest pictures from the Chilean monster telescope with the biggest camera in the world on it. They just released them. The galaxies are unbelievable. You can see from Earth. Relewise are a Danish company founded in 2020 by three gentlemen who used to work for an e-commerce agency and got a little bit frustrated about the recommendation and search technology that they were finding they had to use and implement. So they did the classic, we know what we think is required from a customer perspective. We don't like what's out in the market. We're going to build our own. So they set about building their own technology. This is a privately owned company, but it's also partially funded by a gentleman called Anders Povsen. And Anders Povsen actually is Denmark's richest guy. And he's invested in lots of retail technology and companies. And those companies include ASOS in the UK, where he's the largest shareholder. He wholly owns Bestseller. Bestseller is one of the largest fashion brands, bigger than Levi Strauss, known in the UK probably by the Jack & Jones or the Only brand, but there's also recent acquisition of Topshop and Topman as well. And we've built a company that's built on a very important premise. We want to make sure our customers get very good value for money, have predictable pricing, and only pay for what they use. And if they're not happy, they're not locked into our technology. We have a fantastic retention rate with our customers, and we believe the reason for that is we always operate on a very fair basis for them and for us, and we think that's good business. Relewise is used by all sorts of different types of organizations. So it could be a B2C merchant who could be selling anything from fashion clothes to utensils, TVs and electronics, all the way through to organizations that are using it from a business-to-business perspective, and they could be selling any type of engineered product, even plastics or large machinery. And those organizations are typically trying to help their customers find the right products very quickly and get suitable recommendations.
Why do companies use Relewise? What are the main benefits and features that they like?
The big benefit of using Relewise technology is in providing enhanced revenue and better conversion rates. That is the core focus of the technology. So we're using predictive AI to understand human behavior and then make appropriate recommendations or to suggest, based off searches, products or services that are suitable for an individual. We also promote that into email streams, and we can also be used to promote different brands and even have those brands sponsor promotional places in a website.
Tell me about your contract terms.
Yeah, we really got a very nice contract. It's very customer friendly. So the first thing about our contract is it's just a rolling 30-day commitment. The second thing about our contracts is they just based on a pay-as-you-use basis. So if you don't use functionality from our product stack, you don't pay for it. And that even extends to the development phase, where during development period, you literally just pay for the hosting platform, that's it. So it's very, very easy to get into our product, and it's also extremely cost effective to use it on a long-term basis.
Non-e-commerce merchant organizations, can they use Relewise?
Yes, great question. We have a customer like AQA, for an example. AQA is a charity that promotes exam questions to help students practice questions before they sit their real exams. And it's content only. There is no checkout, there is no sale, there is no price to the product. So one of the aspects of our technology is something I like to call content steering. So what we're doing is we're helping a user of a particular website find relevant content. So we can find product, we can find placement and pricing and those sorts of things, but we can also drill into the detail of content and use that content to suggest to interested parties things that would be valuable to them. So if you think about it in very simple terms, if you're looking for maths questions, you don't want to be given geography questions. And so we help steer people into the right category of content using our predictive AI technology.
Is Relewise just for front-end website, or can you use it for data feeds?
Actually, Relewise is like a black box that sits in between several data sources and the front end. And we don't produce front-end UI. We basically leave that to partners like Rusty Monkey to deliver for their clients. But what we do is aggregate data from several different sources. So that source could be an e-commerce system, could be an ERP system, it could be a PIM system, it could be a CRM system. And in our system, what we do is we bring all of that data together, and then using our predictive AI algorithms and by studying the human behavior of visits to the site, we make the high-speed predictions of what a particular visitor might be interested in. Yeah, we have some really interesting case studies. One of the ones I like the most is a company called Sostren & Gren. Sostren & Gren sells products for the home, and right now they're opening nearly 100 stores in the UK. And one of the things they use our technology for is not just to help people find relevant products, but also if they show any interest in a product and then perhaps they go and do something else that evening, we send out recommendation emails that have very, very clever recommendation objects inside that are dynamic. So what I mean by that is, if you were to open up one of the Sostren & Gren emails and see an item, you then buy that item will automatically disappear from that recommendation object, even if you return to the same email. And by doing this, we've helped them increase sales from their email campaigns by 300%. AI is a heavily overused word at the moment, and I think one of the challenges with any organization that wants to use AI is really understanding what does it do and how is it best used. What we're doing at Relewise is using primarily something called predictive AI. And what predictive AI is doing is taking very structured information and using it to find appropriate results, be they be recommendations, be they be search results, from a very small data set, the data set of the actual merchant themselves. We are not using large language model type approaches for typical search and recommendations. What we can use large language model for is appropriate what's called stemming and spreading of words, i.e. language itself. But actually for the bulk of our product and for studying human behavior, predictive AI is where we focus. The advantage of predictive AI is it's more accurate and it's faster.
Can you tell me about the types of data sources you can connect to and how you can connect to them?
One of the amazing things about Relewise is our ability to connect to multiple data sources, including something we call offline data. So what do I mean by offline data? Well, one of our customers in Denmark actually is a DIY store, and they collect data from their POS every day on what's been sold in a particular store. And then that data is fed into the Relewise data engine overnight on a batch. But at the same time, we also collect all of the data from web users. So that's mobile app or the website itself. And we combine the two data sets. So we get insight as to what happens in the physical stores, as well as what happens in the virtual stores. And that's a superpower that we have at Relewise. Also relevant to B2B merchants, because we can take offline catalogs and ingest those. We can take any type of offline data that's relevant to a specific product or item. Relewise is using something called behavioral modeling. So what we do is we basically monitor how somebody comes into a website, i.e. their starting point, and how they traverse through a website. It could also be a mobile application, for example. And what we're actually doing is we're identifying what do we know about this user. So our starting point would be the unknown user. And what I mean by that is somebody who doesn't accept their cookies. We don't know anything about them, but we just monitor what they do on the website. So there's going to be a very large population of, if you like, unknown users. But once you get some volume of unknown users, we can start using our behavioral analysis and predictive AI to create behavioral patterns. And those behavioral patterns we then use to make appropriate recommendations and to find the right things in searches for the unknown user group. The next type of user group is basically a user group where we know a little bit about them. So, for example, they might have accepted the cookies, but we don't know who specifically they are. So what we're able to do is we're able to track revisits to our websites or mobile applications and actually build a database against that identified user, but we don't know who they specifically are. But we are able to understand every time they revisit on that same particular browser, for example, where the cookies have been accepted, and we can then build their specific behavior over time. And that means, again, we can make more appropriate recommendations. We can understand perhaps the sizes they like or the colors they like, depending on what they're looking for. And then finally, there's the third type, which is the fully identified user. So this is somebody who is logged into your site. So this is also highly relevant to B2B merchants. So we know exactly who they are. We probably have their email address. We certainly know their identity. And because they log in, we're also able to build a catalog of all the different devices they use. So different browsers, different machines, different machine types, i.e. tablet, mobile phone, or PC. And we're able to build a very complex data set that says this individual or this organization purchases or is interested in this set of things. And therefore our recommendations become extremely specific to that individual or to that purchasing organization. And the more we know about somebody, the better our predictive AI is able to tell them things that we know they will be interested in. And why that's good for the merchant is it's proven that when you do that, you provide people with correct and timely information, that their conversion rate is much higher. And typically we're seeing 20 to 50% increase in conversion rate. The B2C merchant has a different challenge to a B2B merchant. So the B2C merchant is really about the behavior of an individual purchaser. So a typical consumer that is coming into their website and is ideally looking for something that they wish to purchase. Here, understanding things that that purchaser is interested in becoming essential in making useful recommendations and helping them with upsells and cross-sells. So let's think of an example that I want to go and buy a pair of shoes for a young child. So the first thing is I want to know the sex of the child. The next thing is the size of the shoes, then the style of the shoes, then the colors. Now let's say I've chosen a pair of sneakers that are kind of for a girl and they're pink with flowers. And in my checkout flow, Relewise predictive AI says, with this particular item, you might be interested in some color matched socks. So what we're doing is automatically understanding the size, the color, the sex, and then we're promoting a suitable add-on or upsell to that particular consumer. And of course, once we know the size preferences or the color preferences, if they come back to the site again, we can automatically preload that information and help them find other alternative products faster. So this is all about the understanding of the single individual, and that's what makes our B2C predictive AI so powerful.
How important is the B2C experience in the B2B world?
Actually, the B2B experience generally is not very strong. And as most of the users of a B2B website are people who in their private lives use B2C websites, what we're seeing more and more is B2B merchants feeling the pressure of unhappy users of, if we like, old fashions and out-of-date systems. So actually improving the customer experience, improving the customer journey and their experience in the journey is becoming now a competitive advantage if you can introduce it into your website as soon as possible. Therefore, we think appropriate recommendations, better quality searches, better use of the content to predict relevant derivatives, relevant alternatives to specific product lines is becoming more and more crucial for B2B merchants. Relewise is specifically designed to help B2B organizations, and we have additional functionality that is required to manage the more complex workflows and user journeys that you see with a B2B business. So to give you an example, all B2B websites generally have what we call logged in users. So those organizations have some form of secure authentication that identifies them either as an organization or even as a team within that organization or an individual within that organization. We are able in our B2B module to map the organizational hierarchy and the nature of the different teams that might be purchasing from a merchant. Now, where this is relevant as an example is we could say take a team that's purchasing in the Netherlands and a team that's purchasing in the UK, and we could see the different behavior and the different purchasing patterns between the two teams, and then we can start to make cross recommendations that look appropriate to the Dutch team based on, did you know the UK team buys this, this and this, and we see you buy something similar, but given that that is similar and this could be an advantage to you, perhaps it's better price, perhaps it's better availability, perhaps it can be shipped faster, then we start to cross-fertilize the buying behavior of different departments and different individuals and use that to help boost suitable recommendations. So very complex structures, very complex interactions between individual purchasers, all of it mapped in real time using our predictive AI.
Can you tell me about the performance of Relewise?
Relewise is a high-performing platform. It's first of all very modern software, so it's only been around for just over 4 years. So everything is engineered ground up. There's no third-party code in our software. And because we've engineered it ground up, we engineered it from the outset for high performance. And what I mean by that is a very fast response. When you type something in, you get an instant reaction. When we make a recommendation, it's so fast that the human eye doesn't know that the software has made calculations in refreshing the web page. And that's also facilitated because we have a single data structure, and that single flat data structure is much, much easier to push data into and extract data from it.
Can you tell me about the types of data sources you can connect to and how you can connect to them?
One of the amazing things about Relewise is our ability to connect to multiple data sources, including something we call offline data. So what do I mean by offline data? Well, one of our customers in Denmark actually is a DIY store, and they collect data from their POS every day on what's been sold in a particular store. And then that data is fed into the Relewise data engine overnight on a batch. But at the same time, we also collect all of the data from web users. So that's mobile app or the website itself. And we combine the two data sets, so we get insight as to what happens in the physical stores as well as what happens in the virtual stores. And that's a superpower that we have at Relewise, also relevant to B2B merchants, because we can take offline catalogs and ingest those. We can take any type of offline data that's relevant to a specific product or item.